And good afternoon to everybody. I'm here for the Who Am I talk with the most amazing gentleman, Eitan Chitayat. I'm really excited to have you, and I hope I've said that right, Eitan.
Perfect.
Perfect. It's an absolute pleasure to have you on the Who Am I talk. I've seen so much about you on Google. You are Googleable. And I think that's always a powerful thing when you meet an individual of inspiration. And I'm
Thank
just
you.
very excited. I've been introduced to you by one of the amazing ladies behind the Hero City. And I am excited about what we're doing with the women for the city. And I know you're excited about women. And we'll talk about one of the videos that you've created, you and your team, Dana, about that and what you stand for. And it's the most powerful video I've seen to date. I wouldn't even say this year. It's so powerful.
Wow.
I wanted to be a part of it as I expressed it myself. I felt it eludes every part of every woman in the world, of every nationality, creed, and color. And
Wow.
everybody who watches that will feel connected, even if you're not a woman. Um,
Wow.
it's amazing what you've done.
This feels
And
really, really good. Thank you to hear that.
you're very welcome. And I don't want to give. I want to give you the opportunity to share who you are. But you are the founder and creative director of an international, I must add, branding agency called Nadi. Is that the correct
Right?
pronunciation?
That's right.
And you've had clients such as Google,
Mhm.
Apple, Facebook. I mean, the giants in industry. You have created brands for. So there's no question you have nothing but the ultimate knowledge of branding. I mean, branding you must wake up and dream. You must dream and wake when it comes to the creativity. And I've seen
Well,
your TED talk. I mean, you are
wow. Wow.
phenomenal,
Thank you. Wow.
phenomenal.
I think we should end the interview now. End on a
I
high
think we'll
note.
stop.
So,
And it's an absolute pleasure. It's so lovely to speak to men that champion women. And I'm just excited. There's always a story, isn't there? There's a backstory to everyone's life, and people often see the end result. They see, as I said, the movie, the book deal, and the award, but they don't see the grafting and the work that has been put in at the beginning,
mm,
and the tireless overnight working around the clock that is needed to be done to create campaigns, to pitch, and all the things that you have to do in
mm.
your world. So let's start from the beginning. What made you who you are? Who are you, and how did it all start?
Wow, that's a loaded question.
I know.
I'd love to start by just saying hi, and it's really nice to be here. And I hope that Dana, who was my partner on She's That Woman, who's a very, very close friend, will be able to join us. So I'm hoping that he'll be able to join. Um, I, I'm from Tel Aviv. I'm talking to you from Tel Aviv, Israel, right now. I was born here, and then I grew up in Hong Kong and in London. And then I came back to Israel for a few years, and then I moved to the States. And I was in Boston for 6 years, New York for 6 years, and then I came back to Tel Aviv, and I've been here for around 12 now. So I've been around the world, and most of my branding advertising career in the last over 20 years was in the States, partly in the States and partly in Israel.
Mhm.
Professionally, I got my start after finishing a master's degree. I lucked out, and I got a gig as a copywriter
Mhm.
um, on probably at the time the most prestigious and awarded account in the world, which was Volkswagen. I was working at Arnold Worldwide, and there I was just very fortunate to have gotten the gig to begin with, but also to work with such incredible talent, and that was my school for advertising. But Volkswagen really was a very strong brand, so there was a lot of branding knowledge that I absorbed there. And Dana Satterwhite, he was working there too, and he and I just connected. He was a writer, and we worked a lot together. In many ways, he was a mentor of mine, and he's a writer, and we just became friends. And then from then, after quite a few years at Volkswagen, The Ogilvy and Mather, which is another big agency, brought me over from Boston to New York, where I was working on the American Express and DHL accounts. Wow. And I was there for a few years. And then I moved to BBDO, New York, which is a big agency. And I worked on the AT&T and Target account. And that was pretty amazing, working with David Blaine and Whoopi Goldberg and all sorts of fun projects. And then I came back, and I've been here almost 12 years now. I was the executive creative director of TBWA, which is the agency that has the Apple account. So I was the head of the digital agency here. And then I just, I left after a while, and I just wanted to do my own thing. And I started Nadi. Yeah. And since then, like you said, we've worked with some very big brands. We didn't create the brands for Apple and Facebook and Google, yeah. But we did quite a bit of work with them, and a lot of other projects with companies that have gone on to succeed big time. Some who have kind of like faded away and disappeared. Mm-hmm. Pretty industry agnostic. So, working on perfumes for Yohji Yamamoto, or, very big corporations, robotic process automation companies, hotels, startups, high tech, med tech, B2B, B2C, all sorts of things. Yeah, and in that time, Dana, and I have just continued to be friends and collaborate as well.
No, it's powerful. So literally across all industries, and sometimes I'm pretty sure a branding agency, sometimes they find a niche, but I can see that you can literally conceptualize everything. Once you understand what the brief is and understand what it is they're trying to put out there, you can dig deep. And do you find that there's a cross correlation? You see themes within branding? Do you see people are trying to do similar stuff but with their own brand? Do you feel that there's something happening, or do you feel that everybody wants to be unique and put out a message in their own way?
I think that many times companies want to be like them. We want to do what they're doing, and the challenge that we give them is, well, you don't want to be like them, you want to be like you. And then you have to dig deep and find out what is special about you, what is different about you, your product, your organization, your service. And you can't fake it. I think you have to really commit to telling your truth and make sure that your truth is compelling enough, which sometimes means, that you got to have a taste of some humble pie, because in some cases there isn't something so unique about you. So, well, maybe there's something unique about your approach. Maybe there's something unique about your hunger. Maybe there's something unique about the makeup of your company. So you have to find the right thing. And then you have to make sure, it's different, it's true. And that whatever it is that you say, you're saying to the right people. So that's what we try and do. And I think that's the approach to good branding, I think, because branding is not to be anything other than being able to communicate really who you are, as opposed to just bullshitting people. And I think that a lot of I won't say a lot, but there are some agencies out there that, you want to just get the job done. And at least and I'm speaking for myself, Nadi, we're a small agency, and I don't want to grow the agency. I don't want to be some big agency. We're very small, because I want to stay close to the work. I'm never going to be rich doing this. It's not for the money, make a living, and that's great. But like, I want to deliver quality. So, so we very often kind of like turn clients away that we feel are not ready to commit to that process, or we don't get the feeling that they're ready, or, has to be a good match. But I think the common theme for us is really just like finding companies that we really like, or people behind the companies that we really like. There has to be a chemistry as well. Chemistry counts for a lot.
I believe that. I think a lot of people don't realize people buy into people, and you buy into that before anything else. A lot of people will think that you're going to buy into everything the brand speaks of, but when you actually see who's behind it and you believe the story, then it makes it more authentic, and then you can draw into what they're really trying to create. That's why some of the most powerful brands to date that I can think about have a really amazing backstory, which is true. Because people then buy into that story and they can connect with it, and they think, wow, I feel like that too. And before you know it, the brand doesn't even need to do much because they've sold themselves and the true authenticity of who they are.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, like a strong brand is a brand that really is true to its values. Why? Because you can't really argue with the truth.
No.
It's hard to put a dent in the truth. So if a company is really rebellious by nature because the people running it are rebellious by nature, then okay, well, that's who we are and that's what people can expect from us. Or if people are crazy meticulous and perfectionist and it's in their DNA at the very, very core, then those are the products that they're going to put out, and the right people who want that will respond to that brand. So yeah, there's a direct line in good branding. There should be a direct line from the very core to the output, and whether it's in the product, whether it's in a speech that either a founder gives or one of the employers gives, it's like the values should come out, the personality should come out.
No, I totally agree with that. I think that's really exciting. So then working with, obviously, such of the big brands that you mentioned, how scary. I'm trying to kind of give a comparison when I'm doing an audition or a stage performance. You've got to pitch to them, or it's going to be something that they will say, I'm going to choose you as an agency to deliver that message. What kind of work goes into that? And how do you feel before that moment, or what happens? What's the scenario?
There is no scenario. I usually get called.
Oh, wow.
Companies interested in doing branding. Typically, they've heard of us, which is always nice.
Okay.
Or someone has recommended us. And I don't do a hard sell. I mean, it's almost like we're interviewing them many times. Not because we're amazing, or just because, again, we're small. I don't have to feed 50 people and pay for an office that has 4 stories. So we go in for a meeting and we listen. And we ask questions, and we are quite, just like this, we're human about it. There's no bells and whistles with Nadi, at least with my agency. It's just like,
really nice.
We just talk to each other. So sure, sometimes we show work, we show a presentation, but and I'm very honest about this with potential clients, I would rather talk than show our work. The work that we have in our presentation is very similar to the work that you can see on the website.
That's right.
But it's what you said at the beginning, which is the chemistry. You should be able to feel, if the chemistry is there, then hopefully the work that we've done speaks for itself. So we don't pitch. I mean, we don't pitch. I mean, the only time I've ever pitched, actually, no, I don't think at Nadi. No, we've never pitched. We've never ever pitched.
Amazing. So you're literally, that's amazing. That you don't need to introduce yourself. You walk into a room and they know. What I mean by that is because of the credibility, the experience, the connections, and what people know of you, they will track you down and go, I know you do this type of thing. I know you deliver. And they almost go on that direction, which is amazing. That's still a great thing.
It sounds, the way that you said it sounds, but sometimes it's just because we don't, not because we're walking in and we're like the reputation. Sometimes just like, they've heard of Nadi. I'm in Tel Aviv. It's a small city, and we do have a good reputation, and also internationally, because I've got international work under our belt. But it's not because we're super crazy amazing, and we're walking, they're like woohoo. It's not like that. We just go in and we're just like we're ourselves, and I think that's. It's what you feel comfortable with, and I feel comfortable with that. I mean, there are agencies that maybe feel more comfortable going in and bells and whistles, and they bring 7 people, and sometimes it's just me. I just go in and I talk, and I think that is our brand, because that's kind of like who I am, and it's my agency. So but yeah.
No, I like that. As I said, that authenticity is in every facet of your business. So there's a normalization is the word. It's that individualistic, it's the connection that you can have with somebody, before anything else. And then the work starts. And I think a lot of people do it the other way around. So it's interesting to hear that they've got the noise, the whistles, and what we am, and the bads, and all the flashing lights. But actually, the person who's behind it, can you connect with them? Apple did that. That's what I found with the founder. You connected with him before anything else, and you just believed him. So then you believed everything else that came with it, and you just wanted to follow and connect. And you've got that. You've got that stamp. You've got that superpower that you, and I know it's hard for you to hear the humble.
The interview again now. When you say Steve Jobs and Apple, and you say we've got that, then I'm like,
you have, and we're going to talk about all the other things so people understand what I mean by that. We're now going to talk about, you've done a TED Talk.
Yeah.
That had TED Talks that had 10 million views. I mean, come on, talk to me about this. Talk to me how that happened. You're very humble, and I love that. But the world needs to know how amazing you are and what you've been doing and putting out there.
You're very kind. I thank you. I made a film called I Met You, and around 5 or 6 years ago, and that's the film that went viral with around 10 million views on various social platforms. And it's about, in short, it's a 6-minute film directed at my Jewish global community, talking about that we should be proud of our heritage in a time when it was written, and unfortunately today still, and unfortunately for a lot of our history, when there's a lot of anti-Semitism that we're feeling, and a lot of feeling very attacked on all sorts of levels, that it was really at its height when I wrote that. So that's the film that went viral, and then I was invited to Switzerland to do a TEDx talk about it, which I did. Wow. I mean, it's just something that I wanted to say for a very long time, and when I finally just sat down and wrote it, it kind of took me by surprise as well. And all of a sudden these words appeared on a page, and I was like, wow, that's kind of like what I've always wanted to say. And from that point, I realized that I should translate it into a visual format and create some type of a piece, which I did with my nephew, Adam, who edited it for me, who did a fantastic job. And actually Dana, I was stuck with the music, and at the very last minute, I just said, I wish, and he was like, well, maybe I can help you. And he just like, bing, he just put this track on it, because he's insanely talented like that. And he did the music. So that's the piece that went viral. And yeah, I did a TED Talk about it, which was kind of challenging. I was very resistant to do the TED Talk, because it had been a few years since the film had gone viral, and it's a very personal film, and very hard to talk about. It's one thing to make the film, it's another thing to talk about why you made it. Yes. So, but I'm very happy that I did it. And then it kind of was the first chapter, and the second chapter is this film now, which is about women.
Yes.
Same 5 or 6 years later, but follows a similar format, but from a different place.
And let's talk about this. I spoke about that at the beginning. I have to take a deep breath before I. She's. I can't even say it. You tell me. That piece is so powerful. That piece that you done for us as women is so powerful. She's what woman?
She's that woman.
She's that woman. That's right. Yeah. And that piece is so powerful that what made you even come up with it? What happened? Did something happen? Did you see what's happening with the women and the Me Too movement, and we're not getting the love and the respect we deserve? What triggered you to create such a phenomenal piece of diversity, inclusion, all races, all creeds, all types of women? I mean, I saw every type of woman on there. And as I stopped, I paused, there was another woman. It was just, you got everybody in that short, you got everybody in there. What made you do it?
Wow, it's hard to talk about this without Dana, but I'll try and represent Dana as well. So there's the spiritual, emotive inspiration, and then there's the combined with the way that it actually happened in reality. So the way that it actually happened in reality is that after I'm That Jew, I was approached by a very big TV network in the States, who let me know that they had seen I'm That Jew, and they said they wanted to do something similar about women. And if I would do it with them, if I was open to them doing something with the idea, and I didn't feel comfortable with their particular idea. It didn't seem like the right idea. And I suggested ultimately what Dana and I did, kind of like something like that. And they said, no, that's not really what we're going for. And that was very hard to say no to them, because it's a massive, I mean, you know the network, I won't say which one, but it's big, and it's a big deal. But it just didn't feel right. And if it doesn't feel right, you just, at least us, we don't do it. And so that night I called Dana after the call, and I was like, okay, so why don't we do it? And I'll talk about the reasons why, I'll answer that question in part B, but like, why don't we do it? I don't want to do I'm That Jew alone, but this is something that we both feel. Why don't we do it?
Yeah.
So that was around 3 years ago, and we started writing, I think, the next day. And then in that time, over the course of 3 years, all sorts of personal stuff happened in Dana's life, in my life. And we was kind of like put on hold. And then during COVID, we started working on it again. We put a team together of volunteers, an amazing small team of just, wonderful people. And we started doing it. So that's how it actually happened. In terms of why, it's going to sound cliche, but like, why not? It's just one of those things that we feel and we felt, and it's not the only thing we feel. I mean, I'm Jewish, I did I'm That Jew, and there are other things that we can do and probably will, but this particular thing is just something that we feel. And it wasn't because of the Me Too movement. I mean, I don't know why. I just think living in this world, just let's celebrate something that we feel good about. So that's what when we did it, because we can, because we know how to do what we do, and we felt inspired by it, by the idea itself. I mean, you have to be inspired to do a piece like this, because it's a lot of work, and that's, I think we just have a lot of love and respect and admiration to you, without it sounding like weird and weird.
No, I think it's amazing. It's so beautiful when men champion women and champion them in that type of context.
That's the thing. I mean, like, I'm hearing it now a lot from women, obviously, because we get a lot of happiness back, and it kind of blows my mind that it's even a conversation, really. Do you know what I mean? I mean, like, there's shitty women out there too. I mean, it's not like every woman's amazing. And like, figuratively speaking, I think that you guys should get a bit more credit, just for everything.
Yeah.
And it's not something shocking to me to say that. Interesting. We had a woman that reached out to us and said, even someone on our team, it's like, you put us into a group of women, and not all women are amazing, and no, of course not literally, but figuratively, I think so. I mean, I do, Dana does, so we did it. That's
amazing. You just did it. You felt it. As I said, that authenticity, you felt at that moment, we're going to do this, and you then allowed your creativity to shine, and the music was powerful. There's a story behind that, which is just wow beautiful to talk about.
The music is a beautiful story. Beautiful story.
And talk to me about it, because wow, so it gets more wow.
Well, for me, So I'm a huge Prince fan, always have been, and Prince's band, The Revolution, is when I started getting to know Prince.
Mm-hmm.
And he had Wendy Melvoin and Lisa Coleman in his band, and who strongly influenced his music. And of course, when The Revolution broke up, they had a solo career, and I was equally as big a fan of Wendy and Lisa as Prince. It's not that they're just like, oh, they're Prince's musicians. They are phenomenal in their own right. Very, very talented female musicians who have a very impressive career with their own solo career, but also they compose TV shows, they compose films. They're at the top of the game. We've worked with a few people, you know, in Dana and I in our respective careers, some phenomenal, amazing talent. And these women, Rene, they blew us away.
Wow.
So the idea is that I've been connected. I've been connected to Lisa Coleman online for around 10 years, and we became pen pals.
Wow.
And we really became pen pals, like real pen pals. We'd write to each other.
Yeah.
And then when this idea came along, I just reached out to her after speaking to Dane about it. And hey, would you like to hear this idea? And I would love it if you would help us with the music.
Cool.
And she just was like, yeah, this is amazing.
Wow.
Next thing you know, we're working together. So you have to understand, I'm a fan
I know.
of them to the point where when I was 17 years old, friends of mine got me a birthday card that they made, which was
wow. Okay.
from Wendy and Lisa, just like, we love you, happy birthday, just like taking the piss. And then all of a sudden I'm working with them, and I'm terrified. And I'm terrified because, and I remember speaking to Dane about this, and to them, this is not something that they're not aware of.
Yeah.
It's like, what if they bomb? What if they just what if my heroines just do a crap job? Yeah. Which I never thought for a second, but like, what if that happens? That 0.001% chance. They didn't bomb. I mean,
they really didn't.
They crushed it. Yeah, but they crushed it, Rene, on the first, on the first track that they sent us. The only track, just like, done. Just one more round and just a little bit of finessing. Just
wow.
Absolutely the best creative collaborators that you could wish for. And we've become friends in the process too. And I think that we'll probably work together again, not because of any other reason, that they're just like really talented and nice, decent human beings, that they deserve all the accolades and recognition. And in context of the piece, it wouldn't have been what it is without the music, because we needed music. It's long, it's 8.5 minutes. True. And the original score they provided was just like, it moves it, and it's the emotion, and they're also on the backing vocals in the last 20 seconds. Okay. They are behind our voices. It's the point where the women and the men come together.
Yeah, I love that.
Which was their idea. Credit where credit is due. Yeah.
Wow. So you literally, you put, that was your vision board, that was your affirmation, you put it out in the universe very young, and little did you know it was all working in the background in your life, just for the right time, for all to come together, and boom, for this project. That's crazy. That's, people don't realize how powerful when you put positive things out and you put things out in the universe that you want, and you say, I want this and I want to connect, and you're thinking about it, and it's almost like thundering around, and then it's just the right time, the right moment, the right project, the right position, and it all comes together, and you're like, I can't believe this just happened.
You make it sound so people.
It's quite Disney with me, but it's so much more than that. But you had this in your heart very young, but you just didn't see, you weren't there yet. So you already loved Prince, you already watched and absorbed everything the Revolution had. Little did you know, years later, you would have a project where they were actually part of that. So his spirit was within your project, because they can't help but take away what they used to be as well, even though they're individual artists.
Well, yeah, but that's the Prince thing. But honestly, it wasn't. It's really Wendy and Lisa. I really.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's just
there's
amazing.
Prince, and there's Prince over here and there's Wendy and Lisa who are just their own thing, and they have been blowing me away with their music for decades. So so I wasn't thinking about. I mean, of course, there's the Prince connection. I mean, it's hard to. But not at all, you know. I was like, when I speak to them, I don't, you know, I'm not thinking too much about him. I'm just like, I'm just overwhelmed with gratitude for these two women who you think, and again, this is me, and Dana also loves them. But for me, it's 35 years of music that they've given me. Wow. Of the world. I mean, but from a selfish perspective, like I'm on my headphones and I'm listening to Lolly Lolly, or I'm listening to Bowl of the Cherries, you know, like hundreds of times I've heard those songs and they've picked me up when I'm down, or they've invigorated me when I want to get some energy out, or, you know, when I'm blue. How do you give back to that? So they're brilliant. They're brilliant. They're brilliant. I don't know about the whole universe thing and the way the universe works. I believe in talent, in hard work, in hustle, and in taking nothing for granted, and in giving, and a bit of what you say too.
No, I understand. No, with all the things that you even put out, you can't do it without the work. You can ask for things all day, but the grafting and the consistency and the good spirit and the confidence and the integrity, because I'm a strong believer of that too, and positioning, then it all comes together. But you know, it's the belief system, isn't it? It's the believing in what you are and believing in you said, I've worked with all these people, I'm going to go on my own, and you believed in it. And the belief in it has kept you going, and all the people you've connected with in that process has been powerful to create what you've created.
Well, thank you. And it's certainly not alone. I mean, I have an extraordinary team behind me and on the side of me. Whether it's Nadi or any of these projects that I'm involved in, I mean, I know how to get things done. I think that's one of my strengths. I'm a creative person, but I also know how to make and get it done. I think a lot of times you can falter after you've kind of like, well, this idea is, I'm like, well, get it out, put it down, and then push it. So that's where I'm very, very strong. There are infinitely more talented. I mean, Dana, he's not on the call, but
no, I saw he looks wow.
The guy.
I think he's in another spectrum.
Guy's amazing. I mean, Dana's amazing. He's amazing. He's amazing, and he's an amazing human being, and he's super humble, which I hate because he's so goddamn talented. But but yeah, I mean, so I think it's a lot of hustle, and it's a lot of grind, and I mean, it sounds good. You believe in yourself and everything, but you know how it is. You know, do I? I know. Can I do this? And you know, the self-doubt and the thing that we all have, or the mommy thing that we all have. But it's hard work.
You're completely correct. No, I think I saw people see, as I said, the end result, but they don't realize the work and the disappointment you have, because not everything goes to plan. And I've had projects and they haven't worked out, but it's how you deal with that and how you learn from it is really important, isn't it? Sure. An entrepreneur, what would you say to people who want to go down your direction? You know, having such over 25 odd years of experience, you went on your own, and that was a massive step. That took belief, that took a lot of hard work and grafting all around it. What would you say to them if they wanted to make that step themselves and go on their own? It's a big leap of faith, isn't it? But what would you say? Any advice to them?
It's so easy to say, believe in yourself. It sounds like such empty words. You sit down, you think about like a 20-year-old, you hear some guy who's got almost 25 years experience saying, you got to believe in yourself. I think you have to get on with it. I think my advice would be, make, don't talk. Talk a bit, but make.
I like that.
Make that phone call, shoot that email. That's making, that's hustle. Don't wait for someone to call you. Make stuff happen, and stuff doesn't just happen. I can tell you that even now, so the film is slowly going viral.
Wow.
But it's not being spread on Facebook because there's some stuff happening with Facebook.
Yes, I've noticed.
So it's not, when I did the first film, it just spread like wildfire. Now it's not the same. So what does that mean? That means that you see that the film on Facebook is not really moving. So you gotta write to people. You gotta say, hey, we just made a film. Maybe you can take a look at it.
That's right.
They say that they like it. Well, that's great that you like it. Do you think, did it make you feel good? Yes, it made me feel good. Maybe you could help us make other people feel good and share it. When you do hashtag She's That Woman. Hundreds of thousands of messages like that of writing to people. And that's what I call making. You make it happen by sweat and persistence. It's not about, I think that it's not enough to be good and to have talent.
Yes.
My advice would be persistence and conviction. And it's not belief in yourself. It's more do it. Push what you want. Push for what you want. Fight. That would be my advice as an entrepreneur. Even when I was working for these big agencies, I always had something on the side that I was doing. I didn't know that I was an entrepreneur until I came to Tel Aviv and I opened up my own agency. But looking back, all the people that I rubbed the wrong way, and I did, because I'm not a yes man, that was me. But I want to do this. I want to do it this way.
That's correct.
So if you're going to be an entrepreneur, do it your way, but do. Make, produce.
I like that.
Yeah.
To do,
write that song, write it.
Yeah.
Stop talking
You're
about
right.
it.
You're right. A lot of people, I think it's fear, isn't it? Fear is a lot of the blocks in everyone's direction. And some people don't want to get it wrong, but sometimes getting it wrong is actually what gets you right. Loads of people that have made mistakes is what they've learned, and they've been able to share that. Some of the best books are showing you a journey of things that went good and things that went bad. You couldn't just have a life full of happiness and completely prosperity and all going well, because what do you learn? How do you actually grow? I know it's an old cliche, but they say, diamonds, pressure makes diamonds. Yes, it does. That's the only way you can move forward. Pain makes love. You'd be surprised. You don't know what love is until you've had pain. A birth of a child is awful and treacherous, but look what you get as a result. So people have to understand through those journeys, it all comes out in the end, but you've got to graft.
Let me ask you a question. How do you think about, the youth of today? The youth of today.
Very different to us.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, see, they say over time, it gets easier and easier. So I think of my grandfather, my grandparents, it was tough for them being obviously immigrants. They were from Caribbean, Jamaica in particular. They went through a lot living in the UK, came to rebuild the country. But the grafting and the tenacity and the resilience that they had was out of this world. They didn't understand what no meant. They just knew the need to survive. All this has been brought down in our DNA, and there's still an element of that kind of warrior spirit. We're very much a cultivating family. We're always about moving forward and having opinions and working for things. Now, what the problem is with the younger generation is because they're almost protected. They're in a little bubble. They're still they're very intelligent. They're super fast. They move on things. When I watch how they move, is out of this world. They're very quick at picking up things, but they're protected. And that protection is what's been dangerous for them, in my opinion.
I agree.
They actually
100%.
If they cut themselves, we'll put a band-aid and get back out there. But they will cut themselves, put a band-aid and go, oh, I think I'm going to stay home now because we protected them. And that's been it's not our fault, because it's just a generation of what's being made, but it's done them a disservice. And I don't want to offend them, but I really believe that. I think that resilience and that is actually what makes you so powerful. If you're just protected.
I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more.
Yep.
And I actually do think it's our fault. I think that
Yep.
that more people like you, like me, anyone, I want to hear that from more people. I want to hear that from people. I'm tired of the sugarcoating and the overprotection, not because I want to make life more of a misery for people, but because resilience and get through it. It'll toughen you up, and life is not pretty, and you can't hide. And you see what's happening on social media, the way kids are connected today. My kids are not going to have a phone until, I have two boys of 7 and 5.5. It's the biggest challenge we're going to have. They're not allowed to touch a phone, because you open that door, then there's social media, then there's communicating on social media, then there's not saying things to people in their face because you don't know how.
That's correct.
We're trying to, and it's all connected. It's all connected. So I'm very judgmental. I'm very judgmental.
I see another viral film. If you're not creating it,
I've written an article about
interesting.
About smartphone addiction. And and we have it, I'll mention this maybe because so on Nadi we have on our website, which is nadi.com, we have a special edition writers series with some incredible people who have written, like the executive creative director for TBWA and an Emmy, just like amazing people.
Wow.
And the very first article we had was by a guy called Roger Baldacci. And it was about, it was called The Only Like That Matters. That's the name of his article. And it's about social media. And the only like that matters is you were at that sunset. Did you like it? As opposed to quickly taking a shot of it.
It's true. My goodness, you're right.
So read that article. But I think the youth of today need and need a little bit of unprotecting. It's not gonna hurt them. It's gonna make things better for them ultimately, I think.
I love that. It is exactly that, because that's what shaped, I think, of my journey from childhood to adulthood, and all the isms and ebbs and flows made me who I am. And I'm not upset about any of them, because I can see things. It actually maps out. It gives you the compass to see things. You get to see different personalities. I'm sure you've been in environments before and you've met that person before, and you're like, oh, I know who that is. I know that personality type. I know how to navigate, and maybe good or bad, because I think, oh, that's not really my type of person, or actually I met you before and you're grand, because they're eluding certain personality types that I've seen before, good or bad. And if I didn't have the experience, I wouldn't have seen it. If I didn't have a good or bad experience, or mainly a bad one, I wouldn't have recognized it. So it actually creates a compass for you, and a resilience that if things do go bad, you just know how to pick yourself back up. They say if you've been heartbroken, you know that it's only a temporary measure. If I'm speaking to somebody and I tell them, you know what, it's going to get better. You will wake up one day and feel okay. But if you haven't had that experience, you're never going to understand it. But I know it's not easy when you go through it, but I know that there will be light at the end of all of this. Eventually, my heart will mend and I will find love again.
Sure.
But if you don't know that, you just think, that's it, I'm here and I'm never going to. And I say this with all the respect. It's where, and I can't answer for everyone because everyone has different ways of dealing, but that has a lot to do with the youth mental health situation. Has a lot to do with, because they're protected. So if you're not knowing how to deal with certain situations and having that resilience, it is then harder to deal with mentally. Do you understand?
Sure.
Because I'm pretty sure you can think of many occasions in your life where you could have let go and not been able to pick yourself back up, but you had to. The resilience in you gave you that mental strength and physical strength to move forward. That's what I think. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I feel somehow that the bar for suffering is much higher. Like you're not allowed to suffer, and I think suffering is, suffering is part of life, and Prince, I remember one of the quotes. He was like, someone mentioned to him, wow, you play so well. How do you do it so effortlessly? You play guitar. And he goes, that's because I played for 10 hours straight until my fingers bleed.
Wow. Yeah.
And it's the same thing with anything in life and creativity. I mean, for She's That Woman, we had 3,000 women, a list of 3,000 women. I think we must have had, and you have to find those women. Then you have to, for each woman that we picked, it's not just the one clip that you see for 1.5 seconds. It's like we had to find 10 clips of that one woman and choose the best one. And that's all not suffering negatively, but that's the sweat, that's the work. I think that it's connected to quality as well. Eventually, the youth of today, you work harder, you can also improve all sorts of things: quality of life, quality of work, quality of relationships. So yeah, interesting.
It's very interesting. And why I'm really impressed by what you and Dinah represent is your championship for women. I think it's so important. I know you just said why not, but it is so important that people like yourselves do these things, show people how special, because as you know, across the world, I'm very privileged to be in the Western world, but in other parts of the world, there's people who are less privileged, much less privileged than myself, don't have the opportunities that I have: education, basics, housing, food, and all these images that they see, they can relate to, and it inspires them to want to be better and know that they can be. I think the most empowering thing for me is when I see people who have had so much less than myself in different parts of the world, in emerging places, and you see them become a doctor or a lawyer. They didn't even see that in their environment because it was so beyond their mind, but somehow they still had that strength to know they could be that, and they became it, and they worked tirelessly with a little tiny light that they could just about see their book. Now that is powerful. So you being a champion for women, you're going to inspire a generation of women that don't have the opportunities that I've had. And that, I think, was special about what you've done.
Well, thank you. I mean, it is very humbling to be receiving these beautiful, just beautiful comments from women who are thanking us. And when you're doing the work, and we were doing it with the team, you're not really thinking about that. It's not the reason that we're doing it. We're doing it because we have something that we want to say. We want to express what we feel.
Yes.
But now that it's out there, and we're getting a lot of gratitude, and it's humbling because we're hearing exactly what you just said. People are actually writing that to us and saying, you've inspired me. I watch this, it's been 4 weeks now that it's been out, and like people are like, I watch this every week, every Monday before I go to work.
Yeah.
And we have women writing to us from India, Canada, Brazil, Portugal, Africa. It's really moving, and it feels good. It feels good to have done something that, for the most part, we've had, thankfully, literally a handful of negative comments, but for the most part, overwhelmingly positive. So we just appreciate that, and if we did something that made someone feel good about whatever it is, then great. It's a bit of a love letter, that's what it is.
I love that.
It's not a political statement, it's literally, it's a little bit of a love letter from me and Dana, and to any other man who feels how we do.
No, you've done it. It's beautiful. And is there anything else you want to share with the audience, and anything else happening, or what does the future hold? Obviously, I believe that piece will definitely go viral, and hopefully you'll do a TED Talk from it, maybe. There could be a whole load of things that could happen from it. So, but what would you like to happen? 2020 has been a trying year, and apologies, I didn't even ask. I'm sure I can see you're well, the family's well over there.
We're, knock on wood, we have nothing to nothing to complain about. All very, very grateful.
So
I
what
think that
what did you think the future holds? You know, there's any such thing of even trying to predict anymore, because I don't do that so much. I never knew we'll be here in 2020. So what would you
I
like?
think on a personal level, the number one thing I
Mm,
want is for my family to be healthy and
of
for us to
course.
be able to put food on the table,
Yes.
and to wish that for our friend. Nothing more than that, honestly.
Yeah.
At its very core. Beyond that, we are hopeful that she's that woman can maybe evolve into something,
Yeah.
some type of um, gathering of a place where acknowledgement
Yeah.
can live for women for all sorts of different things. So we're thinking about that. We're talking to a few people, and that's very that's very humbling,
Yeah.
that people are gathering around this piece and want to leverage it for good.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing. Dana and I, he has his own independent projects. I have my own, but of course, she's that woman. But there are other things that we want to do. Some together, some independently.
Yes.
And there's Nadi branding agency for me to continue to feed it its soul and to do world-class work. And I think what we'd really love is we'd love, and if I may be so bold as to ask, we'd love it if your listeners if you could point them in the direction of the film, and if they
Yes.
like it,
Definitely.
to share it with hashtag She's That Woman, so
Yes.
that becomes, you'd mentioned Me Too before, and Me Too is rooted in violence against women.
Very true. Very
Black
true.
Lives Matter is rooted in, it evolved into something more, but at its very core, it was about, hey, my life matters, don't
Of
hurt me.
course.
So it came from
That's
that.
true.
And She's That Woman, at its very core, it's a celebration.
Yeah.
It's not Me Too. It's a
Yeah.
celebration of acknowledgement, whether it's a woman to a woman, or a man to a woman, or a man to a man about women. To
Yeah.
us, She's That Woman is celebrating all that women are. And we'd love every woman in the world to see it, and we'd love girls and boys to. I mean, the most moving thing that we're getting is when mothers and fathers write, I'm watching this with my little girl or my little boy,
Wow.
and I'm
That's
watching it
amazing.
again. Isn't that amazing? So
That is
we love
amazing.
that, and we'd love men to share it. I mean, we if that's something that I want for 2021, I
Yeah.
wish men would watch it and share it, because I wasn't
Mm.
expecting the type of response that we're getting, which is
Yeah,
women
of
saying,
course.
"Thank you for saying that." So if we were able to express something that you might feel too but don't know how to, then that would make us happy. But health and health for everyone.
Yeah.
Health for
No, you're
everyone.
completely correct. I think everything went out the window, clothes, your bags, makeup, hairstyles. And we just realized we need to eat well, we need to exercise and make sure our health is high. And that was it. Nothing else mattered. You could be in your mansion, but you still need to make sure your health was high. Wherever you are, make sure our health. And I think we all took it for granted. We burn our candles, but the most important thing is what we have here is in protecting this vehicle, a beautiful vehicle that we have, we carry around us all the time. And we've neglected it. So I think a lot of people have dug deep and really started looking at who they are and what they are and looking after their being, because that's the most important thing, because you can't function without it. And this year has shown us how important health is more than
Yeah,
ever.
and I think also, I 100% agree, and also think that healthier and healthier,
Yeah.
that you are able to put good into the world. I mean, and you don't need to be creative to do it. You can with COVID here in Tel Aviv, when people lost businesses, they lost their livelihood, then we didn't. So we
Yes.
can help.
Yeah.
So that's
That's
one way
good.
of helping. There's
Yeah.
volunteering for things. There's creating music. There's creating, like as you do. There's creating music. There's creating.
Mm.
Not on a personal level, but on an idealistic level, I hope that 2021 brings people coming together more,
Yes.
and people being kinder to one another. And I'm not a kumbaya type of person. I can be very cynical, but I do believe that we that we could all listen a little bit more to those people that we don't agree with on the other side of the aisle. And you brought this up with She's That Woman. We brought everyone in there. It's completely bipartisan, and that was very hard to do, because we wanted to let's unify around things. But you can do that in everything. We could all listen more. So I hope 2021 is about listening more and accepting more, and just more kindness.
Yeah, no, I'm 100% agree with you. Kindness is important. I think we were so busy living our lives and we forgot about community and just checking on our neighbors and seeing how people are. And this season has made people go shopping for each other, which is beautiful. And are you okay? You know, just a question like that.
Yeah, I agree. Just be kind to one another, you know.
Definitely.
That would be nice.
Yeah, it would be. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure having a chat with you. You're very inspiring.
Pleasure's mine, and so are you.
Thank you. And keep, you know, just putting out great content. I will definitely share with my audience. They're amazing. I mean, loads of people, I can think of all the people I know that would definitely share, because I think they'll be so empowered by it, you know, that they're being recognized. I think we have conversations as ladies, as we do, and a lot of us do have insecurities about being good enough. That's one of our big things that we always say. We are good enough. I am good enough. I'm a mother, I'm a wife, I'm a girlfriend, or whatever. And we've got so many different hats that we wear. So I feel as women watching that, they will feel a sense of peace and happiness. Definitely.
We see it and we hear it as we wrote, and we could say it a bit more, you know. I think we could, but
definitely.
You know, I'm glad that it made you feel that way. And on behalf of Dana and myself and Wendy and Lisa and Adam and Masha and Maya and Dana and Dina and Kristen and Uri, everyone Shelley who worked on the film, because it was a team effort, you know, we're just so grateful that it's resonating. So thank you. And hashtag She's That Woman.
I will, definitely. And I definitely hope to see you soon when the world opens back up. I think everyone's going to be gathering in different places. And if you do come to London, please let me know. I'd definitely love to connect with you.
I would love that. Thank you, Renee. It's an absolute pleasure. And thank you so much.
You're very welcome. And you take care. God bless you and your family. And be safe in this time too.
Ditto.
Okay. Take care. Bye. Bye. Give me 1 second.